terms of the end of the IDW, when I've spoken to Bret Weinstein over the years, I think I've spoken to him maybe 4 or 5 times now. So in 2021, I asked him about Sam Harris turning in his IDW card, that whole event, right? And Bret was very remorseful. He was very apologetic. He said, though he wasn't talking about me directly, he said, I'm certain that Sam was talking about me in the way I handled that conversation. And he said to me on the podcast, he said, I apologize for the way in which I handled our discussions. So then I interviewed him in 2023 and I asked him to reflect on that. And he completely changed. He said, I no longer feel any responsibility for the sort of breakdown in their relationship. And he sort of, he was reflecting on the way in which Sam spoke about people who were open to the idea of Trump, because I think Sam said that any reasonable person couldn't consider that. And Bret said it was ultimately Sam's fault for the breakdown of their relationship and the breakdown as the IDW as a whole. So when you look back at that whole Sam Harris turning in his imaginary IDW card, is that the sort of what we can point to as the end point of the IDW, the way in which it sort of broke apart and fractured?
Yeah, I think that's as good a point as any. I mean, the point of the IDW is for people who disagree to have reasonable discussions together, and that kind of fell apart. So the IDW quite obviously stopped practicing what it was preaching. So it makes sense. And then the whole Trump, I mean, it's still such a mystery, isn't it? Because, I mean, I was horrified by Trump in 2016. I was reasonably anti or at least ambivalent in 2020. This time around, I was much more on board, not because I like the guy anymore, but because of the team that was behind him and because a lot of felt like IDW values were sort of percolating into that space. And I felt like the left and right was shifting anyway. I'm digressing a little bit. I'm just trying to work out what to say about that whole moment. I guess a lot of it does sort of, I mean, it's around COVID, but it's also around, this very shift itself between left and right. And for IDW types who were once, many of them were quite anti-Trump. Rogan was quite anti-Trump, but as the left and right shifted and as wokeism became more and more dominant, many people were just sort of slid into Camp Trump. And as I say, I could feel the pull myself. Sam Harris's, of almost all of them, is strongly resisted that. I wonder where he is still today in all of that. But that's sort of the breakdown. They stopped being civil. That weird election stealing 2020 thing. Which, I mean, look, to be honest, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence that it was stolen? I'm struggling to see it. So I mean, that's a point of view that we could discuss. I don't know. I'm not sure what else to say about all that.
So if we look to the future then of the IDW, I think Sam Harris is a really crucial player in there being a reconcile of the IDW, because this is someone who most people see as a very left-leaning person. So for him to sort of reconcile with the likes of Bret Weinstein and co, that would be seen as a sort of healing moment then. I think he's a big player in sort of restoring what people think of when they hear IDW. And I know the last time I spoke to Bret, probably a year or so ago now, he said that he still does hope for a full reconcile. I think he ended our conversation by asking Sam Harris to give him a call. Now, I'm not sure if that happened.
That's beautiful.
But do you see there being a future for not the IDW as a wider idea, but what we know as the core IDW?
It's like the Blues Brothers, isn't it? We're getting the band back together. It would be nice. I don't know. I mean, the world shifts, everything twists, everything moves on. You know, Heraclitus, can't step in the same river twice. I imagine even in 2 or 3 years, the world will have changed. AI, war in Ukraine, who knows? The world will have changed in unexpected ways again, and whatever was the IDW, I suspect, will have drifted even further apart. That's my feeling. It was barely a movement. It was sort of a name stuck on a bunch of people that hung out a bit and talked about each other and certainly shared a collection of ideas. Would it be nice to see Sam and Bret reconcile? I mean, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? In a way, that's kind of Endgame, isn't it? It's like seeing those two just kind of come together and just hug, just hug. That would be beautiful.